it looks very strange even for us Japanese. Technically, they are not really fun. Then the next question, which is, why is sumo wrestler almost naked? Yeah, that's interesting. So I asked my community, but they've always wanted to know about Japan. So today, as a Japanese person, I'm going to answer your weirdest questions about Japan. Some of them are so interesting that even I didn't know them before, so please watch till the end. Okay, so the first question is, why do Japanese people eat KFC on Christmas? And this is probably one of the most famous weird facts about Japan. As you know, in Japan, Christmas is not really a religious holiday for most people. It's more like a romantic commercial and a seasonal event. And because Japan didn't have a strong tradition of eating turkey for Christmas, there was an empty space for the commercial. So in the 1970s, KFC Japan promoted fried chicken as a Christmas meal. As far as I know, the campaign became very successful. That's why we still eat it.
Chicken Christmas!
Over time, eating KFC at Christmas became a Japanese seasonal tradition. So today, many people reserve Christmas chicken in advance. You can see like special Christmas buckets and long line in front of the store, and also kind of standards dressed like Santa Claus. For foreigners, this looks very strange, but for Japanese people, it doesn't feel that strange, honestly. Christmas in Japan is already a commercial holiday, so eating fried chicken from an American fast food chain somehow fits perfectly in Japan. Alright, so the next question is, why don't the Japanese toilet stalls have big gaps? If you're from a country where public toilet stalls have huge gaps, and Japanese toilets may feel surprisingly private. And in Japan, public toilet stalls are much more closed off. The doors often go lower, the gaps are like smaller, and you usually feel more separated from the outside. As far as I searched, there isn't one single official reason for this, but I think it reflects a difference in design philosophy. In Japan, a toilet stall is treated more like a private space. People expect privacy, quietness, and separate from other people. In some countries, gaps may, make it easy to clean, check if someone is inside, or respond in an emergency. But in Japan, many toilets already have lock indicators, emergency buttons, and strong expectation of privacy. And of course, toilets are basically safe in Japan. So for many Japanese people like me, a toilet stall with huge gaps would feel a bit uncomfortable. Alright, so the third question is, why don't many Japanese stores ship overseas? Honestly, many people ask me this. Japanese stores often assume that the buyers has a Japanese address, can read Japanese, and understands the local payment and delivery system. For smaller shops especially, that is understandable. International shipping can also mean extra work, custom forms, language support, returns, damaged packages, different shipping rules for each country. There are so many reasons they don't ship overseas even though they make extra profit. But what if you want to buy stuff from Japan smoothly? This is where today's sponsor, Zen Market, can be helpful. Zen Market basically lets you shop from Japan without dealing with everything yourself. You find an item on the Japanese site, paste the URL into Zen Market, and they buy it for you. It gets sent to their warehouse in Japan, and from there, they ship it to your country. This means even niche or Japanese-only items, the kind of things you normally have to actually go to Japan to buy, becomes accessible from wherever you are. Another useful part is that you don't need a Japanese address or have to figure out each store's shipping rules. And if you are buying from multiple stores, Zen Market holds everything at its warehouse and combines it into one parcel. So you're not paying separate international shipping for each purchase. So if you ever found something from Japan that a store wouldn't ship overseas, check out Zen Market, link in the description below and pinned comment. And please don't forget to use my sign-up code JAPANWITH NOW to get 1000 Zen points. Thank you Zen Market for sponsoring this video. Okay, so let's go to the next question. Why did samurai have the strange hairstyle? The hairstyle you're thinking of is called chonmage. Today, it looks very strange even for us Japanese. The top of the head is shaved and the remaining hair is tied back. But originally, it had a practical purpose. Samurai wore helmets in battle, like shaving the top of the head helped reduce heat and made it easier to wear the helmet. The tied hair also helped keep the helmet stable. Over time, the hairstyle became more than practical. It became a social symbol in Japan. It showed that something that a man belonged to the, samurai class. Later, even after it was no longer necessary for battle, the chonmage remained as a sign of status and identity in Japan. And today, you can still see a version of it in sumo. Sumo wrestlers wear a traditional top knot, and high-ranking wrestlers have more elaborate hairstyle. So the chonmage started as practical warrior hair, but eventually it became a symbol of class tradition and masculinity. Okay, so since we talked about sumo a bit, which is a national sport in Japan, let's go to this question. Why is sumo wrestler almost naked? Yeah, that's interesting, thinking about that, not necessarily to be naked, honestly. But first, sumo wrestlers are not technically naked. They wear mawashi, which is a traditional sumo belt. But yes, compared to most sports uniforms, it looks like very minimal. There are a few reasons behind that. One is practical. In sumo, the mawashi is not just like clothing, it's part of the sport. Many techniques depend on grabbing the opponent's mawashi, so without mawashi, it's very hard to do their technique. Another reason is ritual. Sumo is deeply connected to Shinto tradition. The simple outfit shows the wrestler's body clearly, and historically it also showed that the wrestler was not hiding weapons. The body itself becomes part of ritual. Strength, purity, and direct physical, confrontation are all visible. So sumo is not just two large men pushing each other. It is a sport of tradition and ritual performance at the same time. So that is why the outfit looks so unusual from the outside. And this is not really related, but talking about sumo wrestler, many foreigners think they are fat, but technically they are not really fat. The majority of their body basically consists of muscle. So in Japan, basically they are very muscle men. Alright, so move on to the next question, which is a bit weird for me as well. Why don't Japanese roads have names? Well, first be clear, some Japanese roads do have names, but not many, honestly, because Japanese address usually don't work like Western address. In many Western countries, the street is the main reference point. You live on the named street and your house has a number on that street, basically. But in Japan, addresses are usually based on areas, blocks, and building numbers. So instead of saying this building is on this street, the address often says this building is in this block or inside this district, something like that. This comes from a different way of organizing space. The area or neighborhood is often more important than the road itself. And sometimes building numbers are not based on their physical order on the street at all, but on the order in which they were registered. That is why even Japanese people often use Google Maps, so Japanese addresses are not really road-based. They are block-based, and yes, this can be extremely confusing even for us. Right, so next question is, why does Japan drive on the left side on the road? Yeah, that's a very historical thing and very unexpected reasons behind that. Many people think Japan copied Britain, the United Kingdom, but Japan was never a British colony, as you know, so the answer is not that simple. One common explanation goes back to the samurai period. Most samurai carried their sword on the left side of the body because they, drew them with the right hand. So just imagine, so if two samurai passed each other on a narrow road, walking on the left side helped to prevent their sword from hitting each other, right? This is one historical explanation for why left side movement felt natural in Japan. And apart from that, later during Japan's modernization, railways also played a role. Japan adopted a lot of railway technology from Britain, and trains run on the left. Because of that, over time, west side traffic became standardized in Japan. So to answer this question, the reason is a mixture of history, habit, modernization, and transportation system. It's not that simple. Japan is copied Britain though. Why doesn't Japan have tipping system? So let's talk about what if you leave money on the table. Well, the staff may chase after you because they think you forgot the change. The reason is that Japanese service culture works differently, maybe. Good service is considered part of the job. It is not something extra that needs to be rewarded separately. Also, Japan has a strong idea of fixed price. If the menu says 1,000 yen, that is what you pay. The customer does not need to calculate an additional percentage. Of course, this doesn't mean like every service worker in Japan is perfectly paid. That is a different issue. But culturally, tipping can create an uncomfortable feeling because it can seem like the customer is personally evaluating the worker. In Japan, good services again is supposed to be given equally, not all to people who pay extra or something. So if you come to Japan, don't tip and just say thank you. That is enough here. Alright, so let's go to the next question. Why do geisha paint their faces white? So when foreigners think of geisha, they often imagine white makeup, well, even native as well. But first, not all geisha wear heavy white makeup all the time. The image many people have is especially connected to makeup, apprentice geisha, and to formal performances. Well, historically, performances happened in rooms lit by candle or lanterns. White makeup made the face easier to see in a low light. It also created a sense of elegance, formality, and distance from everyday life. A geisha or maiko is not trying to look like an ordinary person. The makeup creates a performance identity. The face becomes almost like a mask. So the white makeup is not just about beauty, it's about visibility, tradition and transformation. It tells the audience this is not an ordinary person in an ordinary moment. This is a performance, this is another world. Alright, so next question is related to Japanese a bit. Why are there so many ways to say I in Japanese? That is like very obvious different thing from other languages, I believe. In English, I is basically just I, but in Japanese we have watashi, boku, ore, jibun, and many more. This is because Japanese pronouns are not just grammar, they are also kind of like social signals. So watashi is like very polite and neutral. Boku is often used by men and can sound softer or more humble. Ore is like casual and masculine. Jibun literally means self. But some people refer to themselves, especially in sports, work, or certain, regional speech. So when Japanese people choose a word for I, they are also choosing how they want to appear. Polite, masculine, like soft, humble, friendly, like distant or confident, whatever. In Japanese, your first person pronoun tells people something about your personality and your relationship with them as well. It's not just about saying who you are, it's about showing who you are in that moment. So I always use ore between my friends, but I always use watashi in public. Alright, so let's move on to the next question. Why does White Day exist? White Day is one of those Japanese customs that sounds fake in your ear for the first time. In Japan, Valentine's Day developed differently from the West. Traditionally, women gave chocolate to men on Valentine's Day. Like sometimes it was romantic chocolate, sometimes it was giri choco or obligation chocolate given to co-workers, classmates, or people that felt like socially expected to give them something to. I explained deeply about that in this video, so if you're interested in check it from here. So anyway, then 1 month later, on March 14, men were expected to give something back. That became White Day. The origin is connected to Japan's, confectionery industry in the late 1970s. Basically, companies saw a chance to create a return gift day after Valentine's Day. And honestly, that idea fit Japan very well because Japan already has a strong culture of okaeshi, which means like giving something back when you receive something. So White Day is partly romance, partly business, honestly, and partly Japanese gift-giving culture. It's not an ancient tradition, it is a modern commercial custom that somehow became normal. Honestly, I think these questions show something interesting. Many things in Japan look strange from the outside, but some of them feel strange for me as well. But once you look at the history, language, and the religion, geography, or social rules behind them, they usually start to make sense, probably. Yeah, not always simple sense, but Japanese sense. I also want to say thank you to people who gave me like questions about Japan. I didn't answer some of the questions you gave me, so I try to answer as much as possible, especially YouTube community, so please check it later. And if you want to discover Japan even more, please watch the next video from here where I explain another famous aspect of the Japanese culture. Alright, so thanks so much for watching. See you in the next video.